Splatoon Raiders might be a lot closer than you think. In this video, I'll go over some leaked information from a credible source, as well as some other reasonings on why it actually might come out this year instead of 2026. Let's get into it. So, if you guys didn't know, there was recent news that Splatoon Raiders got a rating from ESRB, which means that there is a fairly final copy of the game, because ESRB only gives ratings for games that are nearly finalized. Because it wouldn't make sense to give a rating to a game that isn't finished, because when you change it, you could add elements that would make it a higher rating. Unfortunately, this is mass confusion. No thanks to people like me, and I apologize. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I recently did a video on Splatoon Raiders leaks, which was AI generated, and I'm sorry. I genuinely am. I will work to be better and verify my sources before making a video like this, but I was super excited when making it, and it actually has a lot of good points and stuff that just made way too much sense. But yeah, I'm sorry. So getting back into the main topic at hand, the confusion comes from this post from Nintendo saying, you know, everything about Splatoon Raiders, and then they talk about Splatoon 3. And then that is where this rating comes from, is because they talk about Splatoon 3. Not because Raiders was in the article, but because Splatoon 3 was in the article. And that is the only reason why this rating is here. There's, again, massive confusion from many articles by Nintendo News. I believe Nintendo Life reported on it, but then, you know, changed their statement. It does have a provisional rating from PEGI, but provisional basically meaning it's in progress. And then ESRB hasn't rated anything at all. You can even see on Nintendo's official website that age rating is to be determined, so it hasn't even finished yet. So why am I talking about Splatoon Raiders coming out this year? Because of Nash Weedle. If you don't know who Nash Weedle is, he's a very credible leaker, leaking out multiple things, including the direct for this month, which hasn't happened yet. I'm just assuming he got it right. But a while ago, he said that there was a pending announcement of some things we will see exclusively through the Nintendo Today app. One surprise game with a release this year for Switch 2, one announcement of a major game for 2026 for Nintendo Switch 2, and then 2 announcements of Switch 1 games for 2025. And this is very interesting because this was all the way back in April 19th. And then, like, the beginning of June, when, of course, we got the Switch 2 and everything, they announced Splatoon Raiders. And then he says, I told you to keep an eye on the app. And then we also got the announcement for Drag X Drive. Releases this year, April 14, 2025. He has made a post before saying that that wasn't everything going to be announced on the Nintendo Today app. So going off of his list right now, he says one surprise game with the release this year for Switch 2. And I think that's Splatoon Raiders. Tell me I'm wrong. One surprise game. Honestly, I could think of this. Then he says one announcement of a major game for 2026 for Switch 2. This is the hiccup. It could either be the one surprise game or the one major game. It could be either or. And of course, you got 2 announcements for Switch 1's games, which is for another video. But honestly, again, with all the rumors that, you know, have came out with Splatoon Raiders, I could definitely see it being a September game, especially because we need more games for this year. In a video I released a while ago, I talk about the release dates and where everything should line up with, you know, the Switch 2's life cycle. And it's all kind of coming true so far. I mean, of course, we got the Pokemon Presents, Donkey Kong Bonanza. Then we got Drag X Drive and Kirby and the Forgotten Lands, which I predicted correctly. And then for the future, we still have Kirby Air Riders, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, and then Metroid Prime Beyond. When trying to fill out this year, I honestly think there is going to be a Switch 2 game per month, similar to how they did it with, you know, the Switch 1. But the only hiccup with that is Metroid Prime Beyond, because that's actually a Switch 1 game that's getting a Switch 2 edition. So I do not think that's going to be considered a Switch 2 game. And same with Pokemon Legends ZA. That is a Switch 1 game that is ported to the Switch 2, having a Switch 2 edition. So that kind of leaves 2 things open. And I might also kind of redo this video a little later, kind of talking about it if my theory proves correct. Maybe after the next Direct or something comes out when we get more information. But with 2 slots open for a Switch 2 game, that could be, honestly, the next Mario in December, move Hyrule Warriors back to November, and then maybe Splatoon Raiders in September. I don't know, it seems like it'd be a little too packed, but I think Nintendo is trying to go out with a bang. And there is rumors of a Switch Lite already on its way. So I think Nintendo is honestly just trying to give a bunch of reasons for people to buy the console, especially before the holiday season. And especially with Nash Weedle's credibility, and him saying a surprise in his tweet, it just makes a lot of sense for it to be Splatoon Raiders, because this was a surprise. And I know a lot of people will argue, what about Dragon X Drive? But Dragon X Drive wasn't a surprise game. It was a game. So if Nash Weedle, and again, I'm not going to say I trust him 100%, but I think everything he says is pretty credible, like almost like completely credible. I don't think he's gotten anything really wrong. And this is the way he speaks, I think, to me, makes it seem like all this stuff is airing in the form of credibility. Just to prove my point, he said, I heard a rumor that there will be a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which would include some additions, but I haven't been able to verify this. And him saying stuff like that, where it says, I haven't been able to verify this, actually just lets me trust him more. And that's just my opinion when it comes to these things. So when looking at the calendar, when talking about Switch 2 launches, with the idea of what I've spoken of before, it really only makes sense to either be in September or a holiday title, that being in November or December. But since it's Splatoon we're talking about, it really only makes sense to be in September. Yeah. It all kind of depends on what actually is coming out, because then again, we don't have release dates for Metro Prime Beyond, Kirby Air Riders, and everything like that. And when we are, we could definitely predict the rest of the schedule way more easily. And I think, honestly, the next Direct that we are getting, not the September Direct, if we are getting a Direct before September, will help us fill out all that information so that we'll be more able easily to predict. Of course, you know, my dream holiday title would be Animal Crossing, but that's for another video. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Will we be getting Splatoon Raiders in September? Honestly, it's looking like it might be the case. But I'm Crafty1, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye. I'm very sorry.